I'll let you read this quote. Pretty sweet, huh? Everyone see that okay?
No.
Okay.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
That's Smith with an E, and that's Martha with an A.
You've seen their silly, always creative ads.
Those brothers on TV, 2 words. Hot. They're old, but they're hot. Especially the one with the mustache.
Ernie Banks. But who are the Smith brothers? I'm the middle brother, and so we're like always fighting for attention.
Tim, Mark, get back to work.
We have no particular talent other than we're just good at selling furniture and making and running furniture stores. You dream it, we build it.
They're the tunes we grew up singing, and almost everybody knows them by heart. Commercial jingles have become a part of pop culture. This is perhaps the most popular local jingle out right now.
Walter E. Smith.
The Smith brothers say famous folks like Mike Ditka and even Oprah have belted the tune to them.
She didn't sing it quite right, but she sang it pretty good. Oh, I think she sang it pretty well.
Nate is going to, listen to me, furnish your apartment with everything you need, like a lovely new living room from Walter E. Smith. And not one, not two, not three, but 12 new beds. Also from our friends at Walter E. Smith Furniture. Can you believe that?
Is it really a building we want? The whole family.
It's Ocean's 13, the movie.
I'm Mark. I'm Tim. I'm Walter.
And I'm Jimmy. Our furniture is great because it's made of 100% pure chocolate. Chocolate? It's chocolate. It's chocolate.
Walter E. Smith.
You dream it, we build it. Chocolate.
Now, this is not a furniture commercial, but Walter E. Smith is the best furniture store in the city. Enough about furniture now. Let's talk about you. Come on in, grab a seat. So anytime anyone's hired at our company, we throw them a little breakfast meeting, and we play this game called 6 Facts. I ask them secretly ahead of time for 6 facts about themselves, and I ask them to include at least 1 or 2 lies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a fact, and if you think it's a lie, raise your hand. It's that simple. Ready to play the game? Okay, here we go. Okay, I won back-to-back Emmy Awards. I write the commercials for Walter E. Smith. So I won back-to-back. So if you think it's a lie, raise your hand. There's a couple hands up. Yeah, winning 1 Emmy's hard, right? Back-to-back, though? Right. Okay, that one's true. That was lucky. Yeah, that was cool. Happily married with 6 kids. Raise your hand if you think it's a lie. You happily married, right? Or 6 kids, or both? Almost impossible, but that is true, too. That is true. I sang the national anthem at Wrigley Field, 40,000 people. Raise your hand if you think it's a lie. They're getting tougher. Okay. There's proof, but that looks kind of Photoshopped, doesn't it? I'm not sure that's real. Okay, so that's true. Any Cub fans in the room? Okay, good. And they're not going to close down Clark and Addison, right, during the games now? Okay, just checking. So in 1985, my brothers and I set out the goal to sell to go from $1 million in sales to $100 million within 20 years. So you think we did it? Raise your hand if you think it's a lie. It's getting harder to fool now. That's true. We filmed a commercial with Billy Corgan. Anybody know what band he was in? Smashing Pumpkins, right? And we received 125,000 YouTube views in the first week. Raise your hand if you think it's a lie. That's true. So we wrestled with them for 2.5 hours in wool suits. It was very hot.
Yeah, she went into wrestling for a little while, didn't she?
Yes, he did. That's real.
That's a Walter E. Smith chair.
Okay, 6. I graduated from Kellogg with honors. Raise your hand if you think it's a lie. You know me. That is a lie. I did graduate there, but there would be no honors for me. In fact, in high school, I thought that C on my report card meant celebrate. I did very well at Hamburg University, though, just for the record. So after all that bragging, I'm done bragging now. I'm going to tell you my flaws. My 6 kids helped me with this list, and it was like 2 pages, but I shortened it for you. So I have a short attention span. I was at O'Hare last night, and I couldn't get that automatic sync to work. Anybody else have a problem with that? Is that just me? I'm a mediocre student. I'm a relatively poor athlete. But there's something I have that you don't, and it's a secret formula, which I'm going to share with you in just a second. Let's run through the agenda real quick. We're going to talk about my resolution realization system. That's my fancy words for the 10 words I gave you are going to be your roadmap to accomplish your resolution this year. In fact, it works for multiple categories, okay? You're going to write your own one. So it's if you brought a New Year's resolution, wonderful. If not, I'm going to try to inspire you to come up with some new ones. Okay? I'll give you a real life example. So I'm going to take you through all 10 steps on how it worked for me in each of the categories that you just saw in this 6 facts game. We'll do a quick Q&A, and then I'll get you out of here on time. So Happy New Year. These are kind of typical New Year's resolutions, right? Help others, get in shape, find a new job, drink less, find love, right? So I'm going to try to encourage you today to think about an extreme resolution, okay? We're going to take it a little bit further. The extreme revolution, to me, this resolution is all about, I don't know, pushing your imagined limits, pushing past those limits, finding out what you can do, really, really do. And also, if you've done an extreme resolution and you've accomplished it, you'll never be the same person that you were before then. So that's a way to kind of test to see if you're doing the right things. So I started this presentation with my 6 facts to show you that each of those was actually a resolution, okay? So the Emmy thing, I wrote down, and I used the system you're about to learn, that I want to win an Emmy Award. I want to write a TV commercial that wins an Emmy Award. Okay, that was a New Year's resolution. Then it was, I want to find true love in my life. That's a relationship one, right? I would love to sing the national anthem at Wrigley Field. That was my 2002 resolution. Okay, business resolution, we wrote that in 1985. Let's get to 100 million in the next 20 years. Okay, I'd always wanted to crack 100,000 YouTube views in 1 week. And I never could have done it, even with Oprah. But Billy Corgan, for some reason, here in Chicago, he's the #1 selling artist of the 90s in Chicagoland, and we got to that $125,000 mark in 1 week. Okay, and in education too. Like I said, I really was an average student, but I did one of those. You go to school and then you work 10 years, and then you go to college. Then you go to get the program because you're more mature. You take things more seriously, right? And I had a great time, and I really learned a lot. But it wasn't until I set that goal, and that was my 1993 resolution, was to go to college and get this degree at Kellogg. That's what I did. I never did anything with athletics, though, but we'll talk about that, because that's a little teaser for later in the presentation. I'd like you to read my resolutions for this year. One of my favorites. Yes. So I'm an ordinary man with extraordinary resolutions. That's it. Okay, and I have one thing you don't, and it is a secret formula. Okay? My resolution realization system. But today's about you. And the question I want you to start with right now is, what do you want to brag about when you're old? All right? Got a quick story. You mind if I get deep for a minute? Is that okay? Everyone's permission? Okay. So, about 4 years ago, I died. I had pneumonia. I was in Mexico, of all places. Not a great place to get pneumonia. I had to go to a small clinic. And I'd never taken a selfie in my life, but right before I died, I took a selfie. This is it. And I had 105.5 fever. And they put me in a bathtub full of ice, and I beep, 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 beep. I flatlined. That was it. Left my body. As cliche as it seems, like you see it on TV and things, I felt myself floating above my body. I saw my body and the nurse. I went towards the light. I heard like a great celebration, almost like a big birthday party going on, laughter. There's a band playing. People, I was like, I want to go there. And right then, a spirit guide came to me and said, you asked for a wake-up call before you went to the light. You're supposed to go back and help make the world a better place. So you can go now, or you can go back and start living. And I chose to do that. And the first thing I did when I woke up was I had this whole new realization about life. And life was like there's a spark out in space. And from that spark is really a bonfire. And the bonfire is like the source of all life. Okay, so there's this divine, call it God source, call it whatever you, in your own words, whatever you want, but there's this bonfire. And the message that came very clearly to me was, you chose to be here on earth at this time. It's like a school. So you go to earth for experience. You learn, expand, and if you choose, you go back to the bonfire when you're done, and you share with this universal oneness all that you learned to expand the consciousness and the awareness of the universe. It's the force, right? It's, you can call the bonfire, it's heaven for some people, it's God, it's source, it's creator, whatever word you want to use. It was crystal clear to me when I came back. And also this idea all of a sudden of no death, because if you have the choice to go back and report back about what you learned on earth, and then at a later time you can choose, you can hang out at the bonfire and rest a few lifetimes, or you can go back to earth or to a different place and to learn, experience, grow, expand, and come back and report back what you learned. What I got from that, though, was this really cool thing where I didn't fear death anymore. And that changes everything. When you're trying to set goals and you realize, I'm part of this eternal picture, I'm going to be a little riskier. I'm going to loosen up a little bit, not this stiff furniture guy thing, right? And it's actually when I started doing more and more of these speeches, because it was like, that's part of trying to help make the world a better place. Because if I can show you how to make your life better, then step by step we're going to make this a better place. How are we doing so far? So you're going to dream a little bigger? Because that's really what I'm after. Okay? Very quickly, Einstein's E equals mc squared, I actually understood that when I came back. I didn't before, trust me. But it's really quite simple. It's this, if you take energy and slow down the vibration of it, it starts to get denser and slower, and it starts to physically appear. So energy turns into mass when you slow it down. That mc squared, that c squared is the speed of light squared. So if you just take energy moving very quickly and start to slow it down and lower the vibrations, things start to appear. That's probably the simplest way to put it. But I actually got that. So you slow down energy and you take this dream or this idea, slow it down, and all of a sudden it shows up in front of you. It's really cool. You're going to see how this works. Okay? So you've got 10 words written down on your note. And the first one is the word dream. Okay? So you need to dream big. So we're going to spend about 3 minutes on this now. I want you to think about, what do I want to be, what do I want to do, and what do I want to have in 2016? What do I want to be, or what do I want to do, or what do I want to have? It's really those three things. You can almost take all New Year's resolutions and put them into that. Okay? So in the next 5 minutes, we're going to write one. Okay? And I want to be, if you didn't bring ideas, I thought I'd help with that too. Okay? So some people dream of power. So you can run for public office. We're in the right building for that, right? And I'm going to just quickly go through these. If one of them tickles your fancy, write it down for yourself, okay? Okay, so creativity. Maybe you want to write a children's book. Maybe you want to double your sales if you're in sales. Maybe you want to bike across the U.S. Start a band and tour Asia. Organize a family reunion. Or just something simple like win the Nobel Peace Prize. Here's a few more. Start an organic farmers market. Maybe you want to create this new social professional network for people with similar interests that you have. You want to find the love of your life. Exercise more and eat less. Still working on that one. Stop impulse shopping except furniture. Oh wait, I said I wouldn't talk about furniture. My apologies. How about meditate? I started meditating a couple of years ago, right after the near-death experience. It's really awesome. And there's stuff on YouTube, just beginner meditation. It's really simple. Don't let it freak you out. And it's really great to connect. Connect back to source. It's really great. Okay, how about some adventure goals? I'm going to click through these. I'm not going to read them out loud. So eyes up there, and let's go through them quick. Again, if anything trips your trigger, write it down. Here's some more adventure goals. I like these ones. Although I think they just did cancel Carnival, so cross that one off. Yeah. Money. How about some leisure goals? You got to do that too, you know. Take care of yourself. That's why I know you read it, but I noticed it's... See, again, goals don't have to be this, you don't always have to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. You can read to the elderly, start a school. There are many things you can do. It's all about following your heart and your passion. In honor of Dr. King, my favorite quote, maybe one of my favorite quotes of all time. He said, "Faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the staircase." Okay, number 2 is photo. So we have this dream. Now we got to start to visualize it. And I've got some tricks for you on how to do this, okay? And this I recommend following just the way it is. Go to Google Image, go to Google, type in the dream or the goal you just wrote, okay? Type it in. See what comes up. Find one that inspires you. Print it out. Write the goal that you just thought about. Right onto the photo itself. And here's the key phrase. This one you should write down. Why not me? Why not me? Here's why this matters. Think about singing the national anthem at Wrigley Field. Okay? So the first thing I had thought in my head was, you're crazy, no way, why would they ever have you sing the national anthem at Wrigley Field? And my response to that little doubt in my head was, why not me? It's some other person, why not me? Why not me is very powerful when it comes to goal setting, okay? Tape it up on your bathroom mirror. That's what I did. Right in front of me. Every morning, every night, you can't escape it. It's a good reminder. Step 3 is to ask the universe for it, and I like to put a date on it too. Let me tell you why. I believe that the universe is like a GPS system. If you plug in the location where you want to end up, it will tell you how to get there. The same way GPS does. Because the future is fluid. See that? Future is fluid. Okay? So if you're in sales, I want to double my sales from this much to twice this much this year, and that's how I'll double my income. Okay? And I want to do it this year, so we'll give it a date. We're going to ask the universe for it, and that's by writing the goal, and then we're going to sit back. Okay? Why add a date? Again, a dream plus a date equals a goal. So if you want to start to, again, we want to manifest this goal, we're going to start by giving it a date because that turns it now into a really solid goal with a date on it. Okay? Step 4 is the fuel. It's called feel. You want to close your eyes and sit with the goal and feel it. Okay? Imagine it, desire it. That's how you fuel it. This is the universe's energy for you to support you. Okay? 5 is mentor. 5 is mentor. Okay? Great quote. Who's this actor? Robert Downey Jr., right? Great. I really like his quote. When we get clear on what we want, people appear just to dance with us for a while. Right? Great quote. Yeah, go ahead, take a second. When we get clear on what we want, people appear just to dance with us for a while. Really beautiful. Happens to be true. And when I give you my case study in a second, you're going to see how. Everyone get that? We're all good? Let's go on. So it's not what you know, but who you know, right? So on this step, you want to look for a connector. You probably have a neighbor, a family member, a friend who seems to know somebody in every business somehow, right? So find that person in your life and say, you know, I wrote this crazy New Year's resolution, and you seem to know somebody that knows everybody, so help me. Who do you know? Who can you introduce me to that might be my first step towards this? Very powerful step, and this is, again, we're trying to make this practical and really start to happen now. So when I've done this in my life, I bring a long list of questions when I meet with my new mentor, and then I usually buy them coffee, and at the end of the coffee, I say, hey, who should I meet next? And now you have them introduce you to their next person that they know in this industry. Okay. Step 6 is study. Study. I didn't do much of it in high school. But read everything you can on the topic of your new goal. YouTube, I found really be a great tool for education, self-education. Free self-education. It's really awesome. I read 50 books before I was 25. I've read 500 since I was 25. And that changed everything for me. Okay? Step 7 is flirt. Flirt. This is where you try out your goal to see if you like it. Because you don't know what you don't know, right? This is how you dabble in it. You can intern in this. Let's say you want to open a bakery. Go work for a baker first, right? Intern. Bless you. This is where the naysayers show up usually, because people start to go, wait, how does she know? Why is she so driven to get her goals this year? What is she doing? And then that taps on a little bit of envy, and then they try to discourage you from doing it because they're not doing anything new this year, right? So you expect that at the step. It's usually when you get it. And remember, it's not the size of the man in the fight, the size of the fight in the man. This is... wouldn't that be fun to watch that whole video of that? It's actually on YouTube. Sumo wrestler versus boy. You can guess who wins. It's a great funeral they have now. Step 7 is also where once you flirt with it a little bit and you dabble, then you can decide, maybe I bail on this. You know, no harm, no foul. You're just trying it out. Okay. 8 is where you plan. I want you to put together a plan now. So you're pretty sure you want to do this thing? This is where you dive in, right? You want to dive in every single day. I no longer believe in New Year's resolutions. I believe in daily resolutions. That's kind of what kicks in at this point. Okay? Success is the sum of small efforts. So how do we do a plan? Let's keep it simple. Although this visual is not very simple, so sorry about that. But this is. You're going to write mini goals. So you get this big goal. Then you're going to write a list of mini goals, like little benchmarks. Then you sort them in order of how you would do them time-wise, what needs to happen first and second. Assign a deadline to each one. And I'll leave this up for a second in case you want to jot this down. So you write mini goals, you put them in order, and you give each one a deadline. I want to try to learn this by March 1st. By the summer, I want to do this, and by the fall, I want to have this in place so that by the end of the year, I can have my goal reached.
When you say in order, do you mean chronologically or do you mean priority?
I mean chronologically. Chronologically. Okay. And for me, when I'm in the middle of working on a new goal, Sunday nights are my time where I think about how did I do last week, and some weeks I go, I got nothing done. So what do I do for next week? What do I want to accomplish? Okay? Thomas Edison said, opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. So we got to work on that step. Okay. Focusing and allowing now is step 9. Focus, and I later added allow, because the model doesn't work without allowing. So you focus on this plan now. You spend all your time thinking about it, but then you have to say at some point, you say to the universe, I get it. You're bigger, you're wiser. I could use your help. Support me. I'm going to just sit back now and allow you to bring the circumstances and the people into my life to help me accomplish this goal. I used to always be forcing, before I died, I was one of those A-type personalities. And believe it or not, I've really chilled out since then. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to allow the universe to support me and to help me, because it's a beautiful universe and it's here to help you. But you have to, if you understand it and you understand the laws of attraction and these universal laws that I'm sharing with you, then your dreams will start to come true. They'll start to manifest and show up. Okay? Seeking you shall find, you've heard before. Discipline is when you do something when you don't want to do it because you know you should do it. Here's the good part. Step 10. You do all this, you get clear on it, you get a photo, you write it down, you give goals and deadlines, and then you allow the universe to have it happen, and then it shows up. Okay? It's called manifestation. It's based on universal laws I just mentioned. So that's all nice and everything, and I wanted to give you a preview. It gets more interesting from here, because now I want to show you how, I'll take one of the examples in my own life, how I took these exact 10 steps and what I did, and some of my trials and tribulations along the way. Would you like to hear that? That'd be good? Okay, good. Okay. So when I turned 40, so I did at 39 was my New Year's resolution. I want to sing the national anthem at Wrigley Field for 40,000 people on my 40th birthday. And it happened. It did it. Okay? I'm driving home from there. You think I'd be like happy and excited? I'm like, okay, well, I got to set a new resolution now. What do I do next? And I thought, well, what have I never done? I've always been a really pretty poor athlete. I played basketball. I always sat on the bench. I played football, but I never played. You know what I mean? So I thought, I'm going to pick an athletics and try this model, see how it works. Okay? So I came up with a resolution about athletics. Let me show you something. It's about a 3-minute video.
To accomplish something extraordinary, one must have an extraordinary dream. A goal so high, a journey so demanding, that its achievement to most seems impossible.
Yeah, you could be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest.
For 35 years, Iron Man has defined a sport, growing from a single race into a global movement and a new generation of athletes. In 25 countries with over 200 events, Iron Man inspires us to reimagine our limits, to set our sights higher, to go farther than we ever have before.
You can run the mile, you can walk straight through hell with a smile. You can be a hero, you can get the gold, breaking all the records that will never be broke. Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. If you're ever gonna know if you never even try, do it for your country, do it for your name. There's gonna be a day.
Iron Man is a statement of excellence, passion, commitment. It is a test of physical toughness and mental strength. Iron Man is about persevering, enduring, and being a part of something larger than ourselves. It shows the heights that can be achieved when we push beyond our boundaries and go the distance to earn the title Iron Man.
So I thought, why not the Ironman? I'm going to try that. That looks like fun. So I'm going to take you through the 10 steps now about how I did the Ironman. I'm not going to tell you if I finished or not, but let me tell you how I did it. Step 1 was to dream, right? So I closed my eyes. I'm like, okay, it's a really cool day. I'm going to do a lot of exercise, maybe a year's worth of exercise today, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to do a 2.5-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and then run a 26-mile marathon in a row. Okay? So there was a little catch, which maybe I'll tell you about in a minute. I'm going to wait 1 minute for my catch. So I had this dream. Number 2 is photo, right? So search for some photos, found a great one. Okay, this guy's still alive. He's crossing the finish line. He looks pretty happy. People are cheering for him. That's motivational for me. I can feel the passion, right? Print that out, write the goal on there, and think, why not me? Why not me? Okay. Now I put a date on it. Remember, this is my 40th birthday was when I sang the anthem. So before the 41st birthday was the goal. That's the date that I wanted to do it. Okay. So I wrote it like this. I printed out the picture and I wrote, I crossed the finish line with a smile, which was the smartest thing I did because it forced me to train with a smile and enjoy the day. There's another racer that I knew, and he beat me by a half hour. It's a lot of time, right? And he was miserable. He pushed hard in the swim. He biked extra hard. He ran till he almost died. That was his Ironman. It wasn't going to be mine. I wanted to enjoy it, okay? And I dated it, and I put on the bottom of the page, within a year. I'll cross the finish line with a smile in the Ironman triathlon, right? Within a year. That was it, okay? Intention is creation's engine. And I wanted to get really clear in my intent. I intend to really do this thing. Because when you set an extreme goal, the first thing you want to say is, you hear all those voices in your head, you can't do this. You're too old, you're too fat, you're too dumb, you're too poor, whatever it is, you hear it in your head, right? So you get clear on your intention, okay? Okay, now I'm going to share with you my one catch. So I really wanted to do this Ironman. I'd written it, I was feeling all good, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I can't swim. I couldn't swim. I could do I could tread water. I mean, it wasn't, but I couldn't, this whole freestyle thing, right? I couldn't go 20 feet doing freestyle, okay? So now I get this huge obstacle, right? And to be honest, I was a little bit afraid of water too. Because if you can't, like if you fall off a boat and you have to swim to shore and you can only tread water, you don't get very far staying in place, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this model anyway. I'm going to do this thing anyway. Okay? So I closed my eyes and I really felt it. I felt what it would feel like to do this thing. Okay? So I felt, it gets really hot during the Ironman, like usually about 85 degrees. So I felt the heat of riding the bike, and I felt the cold water, and I felt the burn of my legs, right, from that run. Because any runners in the room, when you get to a certain point, your legs start to burn, right? It's the buildup of acid, right? So I felt that burn anyway, okay? So I was an Ironman even before I was one, because in my head I was an Ironman, because I'd visualized it, I'd felt it. You with me so far? Am I doing okay? Yes? Okay, good. Okay. So what was step 5? It was mentor, right? So I went to my gym. I literally wrote this on a Sunday night. Monday morning I go to my gym. I've been going there a couple of years at this point. And this bald guy walks up to me. He says, "Hi there, I'm Michael." I said, "You're new here, Michael?" He said, "Yes, they just hired me. I'm from Australia and I'm an Ironman coach." I go, "You're kidding me." I go, "Seriously?" I go, "You're not going to believe what I decided last night." He goes, "Right." I go, "No, last night I decided I want to do the Ironman by the time I'm 41. He goes, "Well, then you're in good hands. I've done 7 of them." And I said, but there's a catch. I can't swim. He said, I actually, in Australia, I was a full-time swimming coach. I'm like, okay, this is silly. But this is how the universe works, you see. This is how it works. This story is 100% true. So Michael shows up. Okay, so now I got a coach. Okay, then Al shows up. So Michael says, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sign you up because this thing fills up. We're going to sign you up for next September because it fills up so fast. Did all the paperwork, signed up. The next day, I get an email from a guy, and he says, I see you signed up for the Ironman. I'm a professional Ironman, and I live like 3 blocks from you. Would you like me to show you the ropes? So now I got a coach and I got a friend. And so Al and I, every Thursday morning, he had a little pool in his backyard, enough to do laps though. So we swam, and then I rode my bike to his house. We'd go ride bikes. We parked the bikes. We'd go run around the neighborhood. We did that every Thursday from May till August. So I did a tiny Ironman every Thursday morning at 5 a.m. This guy shows up out of nowhere. We're still friends. This is, 10 years later. So what's step 6? To study. I didn't know anything about the Ironman. I could barely spell it. I saw the movie, but that was after. Okay, so I didn't know anything about Ironman. So I had to learn fueling and bonking, because when you are in a race for 15 hours, what you put in, your fuel is really important, or else you bonk. Bonk is when you run out of fuel. You runners know that if you haven't put enough carbs in or kept up with your fluids or your Gatorade or your goo packs and your gel, if you don't do that, your body says, I got no more fuel. It's just like a car out of gas. I had to learn that. The swimming thing. So my first swimming lesson with Michael was later that week, and we went to a little Holiday Inn, but they let you go to use their pool. If you went early, we went at 5:30 in the morning. So it was open at 5:30. So we'd go swim, and does anyone have like an area rug? Okay, so it's like I took an area rug and wrapped it around my body and jumped in the water and tried swimming. That's how my first swimming lesson was. It was a complete disaster. I had to put my face in the water, and he had me try to turn, and I'm lifting my head up, and he said, well, Tim, when you're swimming, every time you lift your head up, what happens to your legs? He said they get pushed down in the water. You think it's easy for your arms to pull your body when your legs are dragging in the water? I'm like, no, I never thought of that. He said, hello, I'm going to teach you how to swim. You're going to swim, and when you go like this, what happens? Your head automatically already turns this way. Just go like a little guppy and get a little bit of air and go back down. And then when you go this way, your head's going to pop up. So you're rotating your body like this as you go through the water, like this. Instead of lift up, choke gag, go under, lift up, choke gag. It took me about a month of 5-day-a-week swimming to finally get and now I'm like an awesome swimmer. It's so easy, and I glide like a fish. It's really cool. But it's just, again, getting the technique down was the technique plus the intent to put up with this, to do it when I didn't want to, do it when I had the area rug on my back and I was trying to swim. Okay, 93 RPM. So when you ride a bike in a race, you want to always be spinning your wheels like an old record player. You want to be spinning at 93 revolutions per minute. Okay, 93. So if you're going up a hill, you got to change your gears down so you can keep going 93. When you're going down a hill, you got to switch to a larger bracket because you still want to go 93, but you don't want to go 193 like when you're going down a hill. So you want to control it that way. So I'm like, okay, that's easy. So I got this. Okay, so swimming, I want to rotate, and then biking, I want to do 93 RPMs, and I want to do this thing called perfect circles. So when you're pushing down on your pedal, and you clip into your pedals when you do this kind of race, so you clip into the pedals, you want to focus on actually lifting up. Think about when you ride a bike. You're thinking, I got to push and grind, push down, push down. No, it's about the constant pressure all the way around, making these perfect circles. So I'm like, okay, I can 93 RPM perfect circles. I can bike. That's not that hard. Okay. Running, you want to run with your jaw hanging loose. It allows more air to come in and keeps the muscles in your face looser, keeps your shoulders looser. I'm like, relaxed jaw, I can remember that. So now I'm ready to take this thing on. So I did a little Chicago triathlon, and this person who was about 500 pounds came running by me, and I'm like, I think I need to work out a little bit harder. So I did. Looked like Jabba the Hutt for the Star Wars fans, if that helps. So I knew I still had to work, but that was my flirt, right? Okay. Now I also said this is a step where you get the naysayers. So when I saw my 2 brothers, we had lunch, and I said, guess what I did? I wrote a New Year's resolution. I wrote a goal, and I want to do the Ironman. And they said, that's fine, you're going to die. And I said, well, what if I wear a suit across the finish line? Because that was our shtick, right, the suits. And so they said that was okay with them. But naysayers appear at this point, and you got to be strong and say, maybe not even justify why you're doing it, just say, I'm following my heart. It's what I want to do. This isn't your goal, it's my goal, right? So I put the plan together, that's step 8, right? Plan. Put the plan together, which was, how do you get ready in a year for a 15-hour race? Well, it's real simple. I mean, it really is. Like, you will leave here knowing more than I did halfway through my training. I promise. Not that I'm trying to sell the Ironman or area rugs, although there's a great sale right now on area rugs. So my plan was this. Remember, I've got 6 kids. So I had to think about, how do I not be a selfish jerk, always training, and still be a good dad and a good husband and a good provider and all those things that dads have as pressure, right? So I thought, where's my window of opportunity here? Oh yeah, nobody's up at 5 a.m. except my son Jack, who's always up at 5 a.m. So why don't I figure out a way to take Jack, who at the time was 1 year old, why don't I get a running stroller? So I did a little research. They make them. Trek, the company, makes a stroller that's badass. It's got this long frame and a tiny wheel. And he and I did 2 hours every Monday, Wednesday, Friday of running. And then Tuesday, Thursdays, it would be 2 hours of biking. I'm the only person on earth that has a fancy Ironman bike with a baby seat on the back. But it worked. We only tipped once, but he was okay. We really did tip once, but Mom didn't know that. And the swimming I would do usually like I'd squeeze in on Saturday or Sunday, whenever there was kind of in between. So now all of a sudden, I'm the hero because I'm taking the baby, he was really rowdy and naughty. He was just a rowdy kid. He still is. But I would take him out of the house, let my wife sleep, get my 2-hour workout in, 5 to 7 a.m., 6 days a week, and it worked pretty well. I was tired a lot, but it worked pretty well. I also learned how to nap at that time. I'm a great napper now. 22 minutes every day at 2:22. It's true. Oh yeah, live stream video, but don't tell anyone. Okay, so 9 was focus, and the focus really was early to bed. I had like 3 friends in all of high school, but it's funny when you're on TV, all of a sudden you have a lot of friends. So I could have used those friends in high school, I'll be honest. But when they'd want to go have a beer in the evening, I'd say, I have to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. I'll see you in a year. So I pretty much went to bed early, spent my time with Jack in the mornings, worked out, and then rested on Sundays.
What
So
time is early?
then I was probably like 9-ish going to bed. It was pretty early for me now because I'm a night owl, like probably some of you. And then all of a sudden it was manifest. So now here it is, the following September, and I'm signed up for it, and I'm trained for it, and I'm ready to go. So now I want to walk you through the day, okay? So you can see how it unfolds. Still love that song. So Ironman, Wisconsin. It's in Madison. Anybody from Madison? Anyone been to Madison?
Yeah.
It's known for one thing, right? A beautiful lake and a bunch of hills. That's all Madison is known for, which makes for an interesting race, right? So, okay, and real quickly need to fill you in. There are professionals that do the Ironman. They are paid by sponsors to do this. Not a bad job, right? You get paid to exercise? That sounds really good. No sponsors ever showed up for me, just for the record, in case you're wondering. Yeah. So the pros get the red swimming caps. Because in the Ironman, everyone starts to swim at the same time. The pros get the red, and I was at this point, how old was I? 41. Right? So 40 and above get like purple. So they hand me so I see the guy in front of me, he gets a purple cap. I'm like, that looks stupid. The red ones are cool. The purple one's kind of dumb. And I get up to the booth, the expo, to get you get your race numbers and your packet and your swimming cap. And the woman said, I have really bad news. I'm like, you're not going to let me race? A year of training? And she said, we're out of the purple caps. I'm going to need to give you a red one like the pros. So, of course, the night before, everyone carbo loads, which means drink beer. Because there's a lot of carbs in beer, right? And you need to load up on those carbohydrates. So I wore my red cap out, and everyone's like, he's kind of fat and old to be a pro, but wow. It's a true story. I didn't sleep very much that night, as you can imagine. So 4 a.m. I wake up. Madison's beautiful in the morning. early morning. So I laid out all my gear. It ended up being about 100 items, believe it or not. Right, so that's part of the study and prepare. Okay. The neat thing about the Ironman is everyone gets in the water at the same time. But the catch is you start the swim in the middle of the lake. That's where you start the 2.4-mile swim. I'm thinking that's kind of a ripoff. I got to swim to the racetrack and then swim back, but okay. So start at 7. That's what it looks like, by the way. They shoot off a cannon to start the race. So everyone starts at the same time. Now, the first question I always get is, did you get kicked in the face? And the answer is, of course I did. In the first minute, I feel this that ankle bone on my forehead. I'm like, it's going to be a long day. That was my welcome to the Ironman, because that's what it looks like. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's insane. Kick to the head right away. So I did the swim. Took me, how long was the swim? Hour and a half, I think. So I went from not being able to swim a year before to swimming in the middle of a lake with 1,000, 2,000 other athletes, getting kicked in the face and doing fine. I heard a song in my head. I just kept going to the beat, rotating, real nice. Tired. You know what's the funniest thing about swimming? You get thirsty. Because what other exercise do you do for an hour and a half and not take a sip of water? So I came out as thirsty and dizzy. By the way, notice the red cap. Right? So that's me getting out, a little dizzy but feeling good. I thought, you know what? If I can survive the swim, I'm not going to die in the bike or the run. So at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm not dying today. This is good for the second time. So I get out of the water, and now look this is what it looks like when you try to find your bike. And when you do unprofessional races, you can bring like a Mickey Mouse balloon and tie it to your bike so you can find it easier. Well, no balloons allowed here. It's kind of a rip-off. So another surprise is that when you finally do find your bike, you have to run with your bike a half mile to start biking. Rip off. Okay. Madison's called the Hilly 100 because you do 100 miles, 112 miles of hills, crazy hills. Okay. Now I should tell you about some of the troubles that day. So the night before I was pretty nervous, and so I took my water bottle. Because at the front of your bike, you have a water bottle right between where you keep your hands with a big straw. So I washed it really good with like extra soap the night before to make sure it was all ready for the next day. And on mile 2, I took my first sip, and I realized, oh yeah, I didn't really rinse that soap out. But I had no other option. I had 8.5 hour bike ride with soapy Gatorade. I felt like I was in trouble again. Like when I was a kid, anyone ever get their mouth washed out? My parents' favorite. Okay, but here's the part where I almost died a third time. It's 85 degrees, September 10th or 11th, going down a hill, and the tar starts to melt. And the road, the seam tar, and I was really responsible this whole race, but at this point I was getting bored. You know, when you're on a bike that long, I'm about 4.5 hours into the bike ride. I'd already done the swim. I'm like, remember, I'm like a short attention span anyway. I'm like, I'm going to see how fast I can go down this hill. So I'm up to 68 miles an hour, because you have a little speedometer on your bike. I'm going 68, I'm going, God, I'm really cooling down. This is great. And my tire gets stuck in the seam between the two pieces of cement where the gooey tar is. And I start to feel it's getting squirrely. And at 68, that's not the kind of feeling that you're hoping for. So I thought, I got one shot at this. So I took my handlebars, and I did a 1, 2, 3, and I lifted my whole body and the pedals like a foot in the air and brought it over a couple inches. And did one of these and almost wiped out at 68 miles an hour and survived. So that was kind of a stressful moment of the day. But I'm halfway done with the bike now. And there's this thing called rubber legs that you get. You get out of the swim. You've been using the same muscles for the swim. Now you get on a bike, 8.5 hours up and down hills. Now your butt's tight and hurts and you're sore and your legs are rubbery. But what do? You got to start running. Now this was the most emotional part of the day for me because I get to mile 1 and my wife and my kids are all there at the mile 1 marker. And my son started running with me, my oldest son, who at the time was about 16. And he went for about a mile. So we're talking, and you're at a good pace when you can still have a conversation when you're running long distance. That's kind of one of the rules. So of course I was doing mostly asking questions. I'm like, "What'd you do today, son?" He said, "Well, we got up around 10 and we had brunch, and then Mom went shopping, and we rented some bikes. We went for a little bike ride, and then we had lunch, and then we walked around town. Then we had dinner, and now we're going to the movies. How's your day going, Dad?" I'm running, my legs are all wobbly. And we went swimming. We did this, and then he stopped. And I gave him a kiss, and I kept running. Now, the run in Madison is real simple. You go from the state capitol to the University of Wisconsin campus and back, and then you do that a second time. So it's 26 miles total. It's about, I think, 6 miles, a little over 6 miles per leg, okay? And this is important because here's what happened next. I get to the mile 13 marker. So I've done the swim, I've done the bike, I'm halfway done with the run, I'm still alive. Get to mile 13, and I see this guy, young, fit, handsome guy, but kind of looking like he's hurt. And like what you're gonna find in whatever goal you go after, there's like a little community, right? There's this community that builds. So I'm like, I'm gonna help this guy. So I put my arm around him, like, "Brother, you're looking great, looking good, almost done. And then he looks at me, and we get to a fork in the road. It's not this, actually, not that fork in the road, but this kind of fork in the road. And one sign says, "One more loop," meaning back from the state house to the campus and back. And the other one says, "Finish line." I go left, he goes right. He was done. He was done for the day. And I still had 4 more hours of running, 3 more hours of running in front of me. So that's why he looked so tired, because he was a pro who was done, basically. Isn't that funny? You follow it? So that was like that next mile was I'm like feeling sorry for myself. Now I'm trying to coach myself. I'm like, okay, I'd rather be that guy now. But at 9 p.m., 9 or so, it's almost 10 actually, 14 hours into the race, I cross the finish line. It's kind of hard to tell. I know it's a camera picture, but I am smiling.
Wow.
It's crossing the finish line with a smile. Thank you. It's okay to clap. So, do you see how I took that dream and made it manifest? Okay? So here's what I want to do now. We're going to take just a couple minutes, and I want you to pair up. And if you came with your spouse, which I know you two did, don't hang out together, okay? So you want to pick a new partner, and I'm going to work the room a little bit, but I'm going to give you time now. Take about 5 minutes. Think about my message, and think about what's one thing you want to set for today. What do you want to set as your goal? It doesn't have to be athletics. That was just an example I gave you. But it could be any of the other things we talked about. And I want you, as when you are in the talking mode, I want you to share your goal. When you're in the listening mode, I want you to start to coach the other person on the idea. Okay? So here's your assignment. I'd like you to write down a goal. And of course, what are we going to do then? We can't do the picture here. You'll do that tonight. But let's give it a date, too. Okay? So let's try to flesh out the goal a little bit here. Okay? So I'd like you to come up with a goal, and then just for fun, because I usually find a couple volunteers in the room, if anyone wants to kind of get some live coaching, I'll have you come up here, and I'll coach you, and I'll also bring in the audience for some participation on how to help you achieve that goal. Okay? We're going to just keep these 10 points, the 10 words, the 10 steps in mind. But let's go ahead and take a few minutes now. Pair up with everyone. When I say 3, point to somebody in the room who's going to be your partner. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. Who needs a partner? Raise your hand if you need a partner. Okay. Why don't you two pair up? Okay. Who else? Okay. You got a partner? No, I don't think so. Okay. Who still needs a partner? Okay. She needs one here. What's your name? I'm John. John, come on over. Go ahead and talk. Go ahead and get started. What I want to do is, I think there's some good questions out there that I think that your question can help others, because they're probably thinking the same thing. So let's take just a couple minutes right now, and we're going to start right here. And if you would, just ask your question. I'll repeat the question for the live stream, and then I'll answer it, and I'll also invite the audience if anyone wants to comment as well. So go ahead, first question.
How do I get over
are we gonna go to jail, or something bad is gonna happen?
Sure.
How do I just do
So the question is, how do you get started if you're feeling the fear, if you're hearing the fearful voices? First of all, to acknowledge that everyone feels that. They really do. So it's okay. So for starters. And the second thing I believe is simply to do something. Take one small step. It might be you stop by the library on your way home and get a book on your topic. It's just, they call it nibbling. They say, how do you eat a 3-foot submarine sandwich? That's it. So take your first bite. Another question. What else? Go ahead.
What about finance challenges?
So what about finance challenges? It's probably the number one challenge in the room for most people. I've got there's a couple different ways we can go about it. Let's take yours specifically, and then we'll go a little broader. So what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, I've got a lot of them, but like,
Pick your favorite goal, because you want to,
Okay, car.
okay?
And furniture, too.
Fine. You're a smart woman. Wait, I might have something for you. Now, it's not a sofa, but there's a great book called Dream It, Listed, Do It. Dream It, Listed, Do It. I'm not paid for this by this bride or anything else, but to help you, I've got one copy of it. You can have mine. Dream It, Listed, Do It. And it's got some terrific ideas in there too. So, who's the author?
It is, it says with Leah Stakely,
Leah Stakely. Can you spell Stakely for us?
like the steak that you eat, Steak, and then Ley. Thank you.
Great. So let's go back to financing though. Okay. So your goal is to get a new car,
Yeah, I mean, I could lease it,
Right.
so,
so what's holding you back?
I think like credit and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
In the past, your credit hasn't been ideal.
Half the room isn't either, and they're still getting loans. So if that's something, then don't be afraid. Just go and try it, and you might be surprised. You might be surprised. Other finance questions while we're at it, because it's really about, do you, I got to be honest. You start with family and friends that you know. Do you have a rich uncle? Do you have a sister-in-law who's an attorney and has lots of money? You share your dream with them. Show them. Usually, people with money don't like to share it unless you show up with a written plan and you say, here's my 10 steps. I was at a great goal workshop that the city of Chicago put on, and I'd like to share it with you. And you don't even ask them for money.
But like the movie Joy.
I haven't seen it yet, but yes? Okay, I'll go see Joy.
So also bring up that list with the selfie, with your friends in the room.
You got it. And so the best way to go about getting money, believe it or not, is to ask for their advice. People with money are sometimes right and sometimes a little delusional about how smart they are. But if you go to them and ask advice on what they recommend for something, and by the way, I've been that other person, and someone shares an idea and they're really passionate about it, and it's really good, I'll help them out, right? So you want to bring your 10-point list, type it up. I love visuals. You can tell from my presentation, I could have done this all in like three slides of bullet points, right? Humans don't learn by bullet points. We learn by visuals. So turn your 10 steps, make your own version of this. This is all off Google Images. It cost me nothing. So put together, this was Apple Keynote is the name of the software. It comes free with an Apple. You can buy it otherwise. It's the same as PowerPoint. Microsoft is PowerPoint. Make a presentation, put it together. My wife did this. She started a little cookie company. And I gave her, the poor thing, she gets a speech all the time, right, my wife? And so I gave her this speech, and she felt inspired, and she put together her own. She did it on an iPad. There's a Apple Keynote, the presentation software. It's also on an iPad. It's like $3 or something. So she did that, and she put together her own presentation, and she went with vintage pinup girls from the war as her Chicago butter cookie theme. And the cutest presentation, and it helped her get a baker, it helped her get an attorney to get the business licenses and everything else. So I love the idea, I'm glad this came up, of putting together a little presentation that's very visual and full of emotion and passion, but still answers some of the numbers questions. And all you're asking is their advice. And you know what? If you do a good job on it, they'll say, you know what? This sounds pretty good. How about if I give you some money? Right? Some people have more money than they know what to do with. I know it's hard to imagine. Those are the people. I know. That's who you go after. Okay. Other questions? Yes.
Do you have a book or something you published that we can go refer back to besides this lecture?
You know what? I'm a professional speaker besides all my fun stuff, furniture and things. And most of my presentations I've thought about putting into a book. This would be a pretty good little book, wouldn't it? Like the book I gave you. So nothing is ready yet, but I will give you my personal email because I'm a connector, and I know people too. And so it's real simple. Tim at live stream. Tim at timsmith.com. TIMSMITHE, don't forget the E.com. And I've been speaking for many years, and I've helped out a lot of people. Even just connecting you. Someone in the front of the room is looking to get involved in the legal profession and find a partner and do some things. That would be a great way to get a hold of me. Would be email, and I can hook you up with some people that, again, you're inviting them for coffee to talk about an idea. You're not trying to meet with them for money. And that's how you go about it. You want to share an idea, and you want to get their input. And they might have some great ideas, and for sure they'll think they have great ideas, and that's good, because then it's also forcing you to brush up your presentation. Because when my wife wanted to meet with her baker, she did the presentation for me, and it was maybe a B-, right? But when she knew she had to meet the baker, all of a sudden it was an A-. Better slides, put together in a little bit better order that told the story a little more clearly. Okay? Got time for about 2 more questions.
What was the email address again?
Sure, Tim at timsmith.com.
And you said that's Smith with an E.
Smith with an E. If you haven't learned that by now, you're out of the room. Yes.
So I'm wondering, have you had an experience that you failed your resolution, and how will you do?
One that failed, that didn't work? Absolutely. I've got a bunch, but I'll start with one. I like to give back, as you can tell. And so I was hired by a Chicago college, and I won't name the name, and I went and I taught for a year. This was just 2 years ago. So I taught there. I was a marketing professor, and I'd written down all these steps about things, and I followed the exact formula. And I get to step 7, really, the flirt step, and it just wasn't what I thought it would be. I found it was, I guess, the time commitment versus the reward, not just financially, which of course it's almost my heart goes out to these professors. It's almost like you're doing it for free, especially as I was an adjunct professor. But it wasn't about the money. It was about it was frustrating for me because as a father of 6 kids, I really wanted to give back to kids, and they were from all over the world at the school I was teaching, right up the street here. And you know what it was? It was I saw how tired the kids were. They were just totally spent. You know, and I get this one thing to be a college student, maybe you're working, whatever, but they were so beyond from even being present because they were so tired. And then I also was aware in trying to help them land jobs, because I believe the middle class has been completely eroded in the last 6 years, 7 years, not to get too political or anything, but the middle class is almost gone. You have rich people and you have poor people, right? And so I'm trying to help these kids get a middle class job. These are marketing students, work for an ad agency, maybe work in PR, and there was so little out there that I found. I'm like, you know what? I did it for a year and I committed to it, and it was my New Year's resolution 3 years ago, and I did it for the year, and I thought, not all it's cracked up to be. Glad I did it. Might do it in my retirement. I could stroll in anywhere now, and I've got the 1-year resume, and I was the highest rated teacher. What a surprise, because I really was passionate about it, right? And so I'll be able to walk in anywhere and do that in my retirement. But for the energy level I have now, I think I have more to give. Bigger than that, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but that'd be my most recent example. That's a very good question. Thank you. Okay.
The part that failed was what?
The part that failed was, it wasn't this, I don't know if I had this vision of, being this grand professor, like the professors in movies always look so cool, right? It's much less glamorous, right? And so the fail was, it wasn't a failure, but it was a goal that probably won't see chapter 2. So in my mind, it almost ended at the flirt stage, because I flirted with it. I tried it for a year as an adjunct professor, one night a week. But it's a great way to, I didn't care for the politics, and maybe being in business on my own, I don't have the patience that I should have for having a department head that is giving me bad ideas. I'm sure nobody in here can relate to that. Last question of the day. Yes?
Thank you so much for coming. I just wanted to say that first. Yes.
Thank you.
And so what's your New Year's resolution for this year?
I've got 2. It's already changed. I know it's awful. The first one was to create a community of positive change. Because when I came out of all goes back to this, when I died. When I died, I asked the nurse for some paper, and I drew a circle and a triangle and a tiny plus sign. Not a cross, because it's an important distinction, but a plus sign. And it was this circle of positive change. So I want to create a community where like-minded individuals can come together and make the world a better place. So that's still there. But now I'm flirting with something I can't share. It's good and exciting, but I can't quite share it yet. So I'm working on both kind of a seeing the world and bringing this, and I wouldn't even call it a charity. It's more of just a spiritual group of people that irregardless of race, creed, religion, just want to they know that something's not quite right. They know that we could fix some things here, and that this world could be a better place for everybody, and that it's really about the oneness, the message that came to me. It's about the oneness and how some in charge are trying to separate us and manipulate us so that we're fighting with each other while they're robbing us. So it's that kind of thing. So.
Do you know about Idealist? Because they started something like this about a year and a half ago.
Let's talk after, yeah. And I'll stay here a few minutes. If anyone needs any personal coaching, I'll do something quick. Yeah, in the back. We'll break the law and do one more question. Is that okay?
I have what I thought was a powerful goal, and don't know necessarily where to start. And capital is always a big equation when you think about doing something like what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
I want to be CEO, CIO, and chief evangelist for a new type of financial center or organization that embodies serving the whole person, organization, and community.
Yep.
When you talk about this financial gap between the haves and the have-nots.
Sure.
And then the big banking structure that we have in this country, there are a few organizations out there that embody some real civic social engagement and trying to help the communities that they serve, non-tinged with any kind of real spirituality.
Right.
I'm not talking about religion.
I get it.
So I'm talking about this oneness and this connectedness
Sure.
to the sources we're all a part of.
Right.
I put a goal around that for like 5 years out.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of work we're going to have to do to develop themselves to run such institutions.
Got it.
Just wanted to
You know what? It almost gets back to that one bite at a time. If you want to be a chief information officer or chief executive officer, I think step 1 is maybe you create your own thing. Maybe you start your own thing one person at a time. There's head shaking in the room. There's other people that feel the same way as you. So you write your mission statement, what your community is going to be about, the values that you stand for, and you host a coffee in your house on a Sunday night. And you start with a neighbor and a sister-in-law that have the same kind of idea, and you grow it from there. That's one path. You also can find a path where, again, the internet is a great source for this. There's a lot of good communities out there. In a simple search, and then what I've learned I do a lot of research in getting ready for this community, and you got to use your gut, use your intuition. Is this who they say? I think there's a lot of fake charities. There's a lot of great organizations that have been hijacked, right? And so you want to use your intuition to find one, and then you use the 10 steps. You find an organization, you dabble in it, you contribute a bit. You see, is this for me? I'm part of an international community called Connecting Consciousness. So that might be something you can check into. And I'm in charge of Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin for this group. We just started up 2 months ago, and I think it's really cool. It's got the kind of steps that I'm thinking about for my own community, and so this is a great way for me to be dabbling in it. So Connecting Consciousness, there's a really cool guy named Simon Parks from London who just has a great grasp of the awakening that's going on right now in consciousness. And so You can watch a few of his videos, for example. I'm not here to promote that or anything, but that would be the kind of way to get in there and kind of see if it's the kind of community for you. But there's 3 or 4 of them, and a lot of them have a lot of video assets, a lot of short clips on YouTube that can help you to get a feel for the organization and the integrity of the people involved in it, and then decide if you want to join them or go back and start your own thing. Okay? I hope this was helpful. Thank you. Good.